Warning. You've reached On the Box with Ray Comfort and are now in a biblical truth zone. Place all questions about theology, current events, and evangelism on the box, where they'll be weighed against the truth of God's Word. Ready your hearts and minds. You're about to be inspired and equipped to fulfill the Great Commission. Programming to engage in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
So glad you're with us on this great and exciting day. Ray, how are you doing today?
Please never, ever mention ventriloquism to this man. He just doesn't stop.
That's to show I've done this so much, I can do it in my sleep.
Yeah,
friends.
but it makes you look like a dummy.
But Ray, you have to admit that was good.
That was good.
That was good,
Yeah.
to my shame. But Ray, you have to admit, come on. I mean, that's some good skill.
You are very good, actually.
And
I love
look,
it when you don't move your mouth.
So great to have you with us on this great and Okay, I give up. Welcome back to On the Box, friends, to more insanity with the crazy Arab and the fun-loving Jew. How are you, Ray?
I'm fun-loving today. Had a great time hunting the beach.
Don't say anything.
I
We'll
won't
get to
say
that
anything.
later.
We're going to look at that later.
Okay, I came across something that I think you
Is your
showed
voice
me around.
all right?
No, it's not all right. This is a never-ending
It sounds
segment.
like a little horse galloping around in there.
A little horse galloping. Okay, too much fun. All right, I can't remember if Alan showed me this or you sent this to me, but this is a study from the Barna Group, and it's talking about the most Bible-minded cities and the least Bible-minded cities. Mark, have you seen your notes yet? Please tell me you haven't, because I want you to guess. Have you seen your notes?
Yes, of course I've
Oh,
seen
man.
that.
It's Los Angeles is obviously the
Yeah,
most.
LA's number one.
Not.
Wow.
Okay, friends, we'll just spill the beans here. The most Bible-minded cities. Daniel, have you seen the notes? Oh, okay. Everyone's seen the notes. Okay. Alan, Alan put the notes together.
Bill O'Reilly, have you seen the notes? Bill?
Mark, this is a no-spin zone. Stop it.
It's a no-sin zone.
Right. Okay, the most Bible-minded cities in the United States of America, coming in at number 3 is Chattanooga, Tennessee. We were in Tennessee at the Bible Bee.
We're not going to last this
figure.
whole program.
Okay, well,
You're starting to sound like some gin-loving female in a cowboy movie.
See, I try to stay away because I'm sick, and then I'm gone for so long. I have to come back. I can't.
Yeah.
Okay,
Sound like
number 2
chorus
is
group.
Shreveport, Louisiana, which, interestingly, we did a conference there.
We did.
And, Mark, didn't you just speak in Shreveport?
I did. Yeah, it was a really good
Did it feel like a
response.
Bible-minded
You know, it
city?
really did. It's more of, I asked, is this the Bible Belt? And they said, it's the buckle. This is the buckle.
Right. Our good friend Mike Johnson actually is out there, who's an attorney in Shreveport. And then number 1 is Knoxville, Tennessee. So Tennessee has 2 spots on there.
Spent a lot of time in Knoxville. I used
Did you?
To go, well, Bill Gothard used to go there and do stuff
Right.
for him, and then we've done a convention there, whatever we called them.
Yeah, the Bible Bees? No, that's not Knoxville, though.
No,
Oh, we did did we do a transform
I
there?
think we might have.
Boy, it's been
We
ancient
do.
history.
We do care about Knoxville, and we love being there, and it's
We know all about
very fresh
Knoxville.
in our memories.
Okay, so those are the 3 most Bible-minded cities in America. Now the least Bible-minded cities. Coming in at number 3, Burlington, Vermont. Have you ever been to Burlington, Vermont?
No, I don't think I have. Then
Yeah.
again, I might have.
They don't like the Bible over there. That's why you haven't been there. Number 2 is Albany, New York. And number 1 is, I think this is a tie, Providence, Rhode Island, and New Bedford, Massachusetts.
Well, these are places we should go.
Right. And here's what's interesting if you think about it. These are the places, right, the East Coast. This is where America first began to be populated, right? That's when it was the most Bible-minded
Oh, that's
part of
true.
the country.
Well, they
and
moved-
now
they moved away.
things have flip-flopped.
Go west, young man. That's what
Yeah.
happened. They looked for the weather.
They,
How do you know that's Massachusetts there, New Bedford, Massachusetts?
Isn't that what it says?
That just says New Bedford, Mass. It could be a Catholic church out there. Least Bible-minded.
Where's my rim shot? It's never handy when I need it. There we go. Yeah. So anyway, Ray, what do you think about this?
About what?
About the
Oh,
Bible
I
illiteracy in
think
America?
It's very nice.
Yeah. Okay, well, listen. Obviously, there's a great attempt for people to, or for someone to try to get people back to the Bible. There's a series on TV right now called The Bible, right? A lot of controversy over it. In fact, our good friend Sunny Shell is going to be on KKLA tonight with Frank Sontag, and that was a former Frank Pastore show. So she'll be on tonight from 5 to 6 p.m. here on the West Coast. West Coast, Pacific time. West Coast. So make sure to check that out because she's going to be talking about that and giving her input on it. But Ray, I mean, overall, as you're doing interviews with people on the streets, do you see a greater Bible illiteracy rate?
Oh, absolutely. I see a literacy rate with everything. I mean, people are dumber than they were 10, 15 years ago. I'm not kidding. They're over-educating young people about things that don't matter.
Wow.
You know, like even when I was in school, I learned French in school and then couldn't sign a check or write a check. I could sign it. Couldn't write a check or, balance my checkbook.
Didn't you work at a bank?
I did, but that's when I joined the bank. I thought I better learn how to do this. But seriously, they don't teach kids how to live.
Like practical issues
stuff
of life.
and how to speak proper.
Right. Speak goodly.
Yeah, goodly.
Mark, what about you? You see a problem with this going on in America?
Well, when we were out witnessing, I'm going to share a little bit about it, but when I was out witnessing this past Friday night, I got into the conversation about Nazi Germany, and I'd asked these kids who I was sharing with, these are all right around 15 to 17-year-old kids, if they knew who Adolf Hitler was. And they looked at me like I was crazy. They actually did know who Adolf Hitler was and Nazi Germany and the Holocaust. But overall, I do notice that people have a great illiteracy when it comes to anything you want to talk to them, if they're especially in the high school realm, and if they're around their friends. They seem to not know anything about anything, but they want to make fun of you.
Mark, those kids that didn't know in 180 were college students, most of them. So those kids that you met needed to go to college to not hear about who Adolf Hitler was.
That is one of the things that still blows my mind about 180.
Yeah.
I actually just watched it with my boys for the first time.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, for certain reasons we hadn't seen them yet. They're a lot younger, but we felt it was time.
Yes.
And as they're sitting there watching it, they're laughing as they're hearing people say they don't know who Adolf Hitler is.
Yeah.
And they're 9 and 10 now, and it still boggles my mind how people could not know.
Yeah.
Although I did wonder at one point if it was because of your accent.
Excuse me?
Adolf Hitler. I've heard of Hitler. Hitler.
Yeah,
but then at the end,
okay, we'll pull 180.
It's over, folks. But then at the end, you even showed the picture to that one
that's
guy.
right, yeah.
And
Don't know who he is.
Didn't
No.
know who he was. Okay, friends. So there you have it on Bible literacy and illiteracy in America. Speaking of Bible literacy, we have a good friend of ours that you all know very well if you've watched On the Box for any amount of time. Our good friend Chad Williams is actually going to be in town here in Bellflower at the Bellflower Good Friday Prayer Breakfast. Boy, has God been opening doors for Chad. He came out with his book, The Seal of God, and he has been all over the place.
That's a great title. Where did he get that?
I don't know. I wonder. So he'll be the guest speaker, so make sure to look out for that. You can go to bellflowerchamber.com for more information. That's March 29th from 7 to 9 a.m. March 29th, 7 to 9 a.m. in Bellflower, bellflowerchamber.com. Okay? Got it?
Got it.
Good. All right, on to the topic of the day. This is an email from Daniel, not Daniel Comfort. I had a question about evangelism. My uncle has been battling cancer for a few years now, but we just got the news that it is not going well, and everyone should prepare for the inevitable. He is not saved. We have given him the Why Christianity tract before, but we don't know if he has read it because communication is difficult with him due to all the chemotherapy and procedures he goes through. Hopefully there will be a time soon when our family will be able to visit and talk with him. I was just wondering if you have any tips for sharing the law and gospel with a dying family member, if there's anything I should keep in mind when doing so. Mark, as pastors, you and I have had the opportunity to be at people's bedside when they're dying, and I think the question is there a special way that you would approach someone who's dying as opposed to someone who's not? Are there certain tactful things that could be done?
Well, you want to be open and honest and candid. Whenever I enter into a sticky situation where I have to confront someone, I usually start off with something along this lines. I have something important that I want to share with you, and I trust that you would share this with me, because that's the sort of person that you are. You would share this with me because you find whatever it is. And that's what it is. I kind of preface it with that. I know you would share this with me, so I want to share this with you. And, it kind of puts their guard down a little bit. I came across an email earlier today from Kevin Mullihan, who, it was really interesting. He shared the story about John Harper, who was a pastor who was slated to speak at Moody's Church over there in Chicago.
Right.
And before he had done so, he had grabbed a hold of a ticket and was a passenger on that ill-fated voyage of the Titanic. And it was reported that as he went down, he was preaching to the people that were around him. And I wanted to share a brief little testimonial here from a guy who watched this man, John Harper, preach, and consequently he had died. 4 years after the Titanic had went down, it says a young Scotsman rose up in a meeting and said he was a survivor of the Titanic. As he drifted in the water on a piece of wood, he encountered a man who was afloat on a piece of wreckage. The man pleaded for the Scotsman to receive Christ. The young Scotsman refused. The tide brought the man around again, and he asked if the Scotsman was saved yet. Shortly after, the man disappeared into the water, and the Scotsman decided to trust Christ as Savior. And at the meeting, he identified the man as John Harper. The young Scotsman was John Harper's last convert.
Wow.
So what do you think was inside the voice, tone, or in the eyes, if you could look so, into John Harper's eyes as he preached, as he was on his deathbed, and as this other guy was on his deathbed? Right. Here's a man being faithful to the call, preaching the gospel with his very last words. Are you saved yet? As the tide brought them back around. And then he didn't see that guy again, John Harper, as he went down into his icy grave. And then 4 years later, he stands up at this meeting and he gave his testimony how this dying man gave this message to this other dying man, yet he ended up living. So what do you do when you're in a situation and you're coming across people that are on their deathbed? You're sober-minded, aren't you? And that's what I would say to you. You want to be sober-minded, yet you want to be candid. And you don't want to pull all punches away. I mean, you want to be honest and open to that person who is passing into eternity.
Right.
Because it could be the last time your eyes will ever see that person again. And you are their best friend in that room in that day because you're going to tell them the truth. So you can't cowardice away.
Wow. That is so powerful.
Wow. Do you know the Nazis made a film on the Titanic?
No.
In 1942, it was a propaganda movie, and it was huge, huge budget. Like, they put aside hundreds of millions of dollars because they saw the power of movie. They envied Hollywood, and they saw the power of movies to change the heart. And they painted the British as being very greedy, and the hero that saved the day was a Nazi on the ship, running around saving people and stuff. Very, very interesting. But you know, one thing I've noticed here that our friend Daniel said, I was wondering if you have any tips on sharing law and gospel with a dying family member. We all have very healthy dying family members. And now's the time to do it. Don't wait till they're out of it on drugs so you cannot communicate with them. If you've got a brother or a sister, an aunt or uncle, email them. Send them a gift. Send them something Christian. Plead with them as though they were on their deathbed because they may not get a deathbed.
Right. I was thinking the exact same thing. You know, oftentimes we're caught off guard when someone that we know well or someone who's in our family dies. Right. And then we start going through the regret and we start thinking, wow, I wish I would have. And yeah, I would hope that if anything on the deathbeds of our loved ones, you know, if we have to be in that situation, that we're reiterating what we've already told them, you know, because we recognize the futility of life, the frailty of life. There was a member of the ministry here who lost a loved one to a tragic incident. And there was a great awakening in that person's life where it was like, whoa, and they with passion began to reach out to the other. And this person's very evangelistic, but it was just, again, that reminder of, whoa, death is imminent, you know?
Stay with it.
Yeah.
Well, I was just thinking this morning, if I had one sentence to say, as I was sinking into the icy waters around the Titanic, what would that sentence be? And I think it would be, put your trust alone in Jesus Christ.
Wow.
I think that would summarize what I'd want to say. I mightn't have time to open up the 10 Commandments.
Well, yeah, and you trust God's Spirit, and especially to trigger in those people's minds all the things related to what they've heard about trusting Christ, you know. But, you know, I know that when you have a loved one on a deathbed, which I have, and it's a very sensitive time. You have other family members who are of other persuasions or other religions or don't believe in God, or maybe they're closer to that relative than you are, maybe a son or a daughter and you're just a nephew or a niece or whatever. There is that sensitivity. You're on pins and needles. You don't want to say the wrong thing. You don't want to offend the rest of the family.
Absolutely.
But, you know, in the final analysis, you just have to speak the gospel. And consequence is non-negotiable. You know, you try to be as tactful as you can. You try to do it when you're alone with the person. You try to be as tender as you can, but you have to tell them. And in an unapologetic way. It's not like, well, look, you know, this. Listen, you are going to face God, and you have to be ready.
Oh, that's good.
And after death, it's heaven or hell. And because of your sin, and here's how we've sinned against God. You go through the commandments, and then you say, but Christ can save you. He can wash all your sins away right now. And talk about the thief on the cross and how I had mercy on him, and just share it.
Do you know, it's really good to practice what you preach and always be ready to give a 2-minute gospel proclamation or a 10-minute gospel proclamation.
Right.
And just cut your cloth to fit, because you may only have a 2-minute time.
That's
at the
true.
bedside.
We've had Steve Sanchez put us on the spot a couple
with a
times.
1 minute. So yeah, just keep practicing what you're preaching so that you can present, like you just did, a gospel that's very, very short and succinct, but it's the truth.
Yeah, amen. Okay, we have a video now that sort of deals with this topic, and this is an ER lesson. Let's roll it.
And this time, it took him 90 seconds to die. 7 months later, a police officer came forward. The boy was framed for the murder. He didn't do it.
You couldn't have known that.
God tried to stop me from killing an innocent man, and I ignored the sign. How can I even hope for forgiveness?
I think sometimes it's easier to feel guilty than forgiven.
Which means what?
That maybe your guilt over these deaths has become your reason for living. And maybe you need a new reason to go on.
I don't want to go on. Can't you see I'm old? I have cancer. I've had enough. The only thing that is holding me back is that I am afraid. I'm afraid of what comes next.
And what do you think that is?
Oh, you tell me. Is atonement even possible? What does God want from me?
I think it's up to each one of us to interpret what God wants.
So people can do anything? They can rape, they can murder, they can steal all in the name of God, and it's okay?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Well, what are you saying? Because all I'm hearing is some new age, God is love, one-size-fits-all crap.
Hey, Dr. Truman.
No, I don't have time for this now.
Greg, it's okay. Look, I understand.
No, you don't understand. You don't understand. How could you possibly say that? Now, you listen to me. I want a real chaplain who believes in a real God and a real hell.
I hear that you're frustrated, but you need to ask yourself...
No, I don't need to ask myself. I need answers. And all your questions and your uncertainty are only making things worse.
I know you're upset.
God, I need someone who will look me in the eye and tell me how to find forgiveness, because I am running out of time.
I'm trying to help.
Well, don't! Just get out! Get out! Get out!
Wow, man, it's been a while since I see that.
Isn't it powerful?
Oh, boy.
And by the way, we do bring a positive gospel proclamation after that. You know, that's the problem. And the gospel has the absolute solution. But, I felt that guy's pain. That's what he says. What does God want from me? And that's the nagging question, the conscience. Just keeps prodding us. What does God want? You know, I've done wrong. What does he want?
Yeah.
Well, he wants to forgive.
I'm so surprised that a secular network
Some Christian had
ran something like that, because you know what I'm saying? It's usually the Christian they're making to look like the fool.
They're probably doing it, and someone saying, did anyone read the script?
Oh, no, it slipped through. Oh, boy, that was powerful. Mark, reaction.
I have a couple thoughts on that. Based with what you guys are dealing with right now, you know, I take a editing class over in Hollywood once a month. I try to make it out there once a month, and a couple of us editors meet up out there for dinner, and we get to hear about these editors who are putting together the shows.
Right.
Now, usually the way it works is you'll have an editor, an assistant editor, they put together the dailies, and they begin to work through these things, but they don't collaborate with the following week or the previous week. They end up editing every other week.
Right.
And they hope that they begin to link together. And sometimes things get so busy, they say. In fact, we were listening to the editors of a very popular TV show called Glee.
Right.
And they were telling us how they edit their shows and put them all together. And it's a very tight time in order to put things together that a lot of times things just kind of fall through. And it's usually up to the editor to begin to make sense or to make it cohesive with things that have happened. But really, everybody is flying on the seat of their pants. And there's demands from the network to get things moving and grooving, but there's always issues that come up.
Right.
So I wouldn't be surprised if this just kind of slipped through the cracks and was able to move on. Now, obviously, no director is going to say anything fell and slipped through the cracks. Everything is done accordingly. But I love talking to these editors on how they put things together. Because if they go out on a tangent, sometimes if they go too far, it's too hard to bring things back.
Right.
And you're left with a big gaping hole that you can't deal with.
Wow.
So sometimes they sign off on those things. My other thought was, as I look at this, I think we would be surprised, spiritually speaking now, how many people are actually open to the gospel on their deathbed because all they're thinking about is what's going to happen to them when they die.
Yeah.
And if the steps of a righteous man are ordered by the Lord and you're in the presence of somebody who's going to pass from time on into eternity, you don't just owe it to yourself to speak up. I would say that they are asking you to speak up, even if they don't have it come out of their mouths.
Boy, you took the words out of my mouth. I was just going to say, what that man was saying is exactly what a dying person is thinking.
Wow. Yeah. I
That
mean, the
is-
desperation. I'm running out of time,
Yeah,
you know?
and get out of here with your hogwash.
And I mean, in
Loved
the
it.
face of such intensity, you could really see how ridiculous what this lady's saying is.
Yeah.
Everyone can interpret for themselves. It's like he's
Yeah.
telling her, give me reality. You know, this
Yeah.
isn't a game.
I think it just shows the power of the medium that we're being into with YouTube. I think that's had over 200,000 views or something.
Right.
And we haven't even pushed it. But I think we've got to push that.
It
because
is
it's so
powerful. That is extremely powerful. And, you know, on that note, too, some of you, again, maybe in that position where you're dealing with a loved one on a deathbed or a friend, and you just, it's just overwhelming. You don't know what to say. Another idea is to read them a gospel tract.
Sure.
You know, maybe something like Why Christianity
Yeah.
or something that goes deeply into the gospel. Or maybe even show them a DVD with the gospel in it. You know, that would help present that.
Oh, that's a
so,
great
you know,
idea.
those are different things
Share
you
your
can do.
testimony.
Share your testimony. That's another thing, right? So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wonderful. Well, we hope that's been helpful to you, and that, again, you won't wait until that moment to preach the gospel, but if you're faced with that type of situation, you'll know what to do. All right. Weekend debrief.
We're going to watch a little video clip that is going to provoke you to say something that I think is very predictable. I predict what you are going to say when you see a
Did you write it down?
I'm going to write it down now
Okay.
as it's going.
Let's see if Ray's right. Let's roll it.
There it is, that evil world without New Zealand on it. Look at it. Horrible. There's Australia, no New Zealand. Yeah. So, our space is taken today. A whole stack of cars here. Nice looking cars, surf wagons. Takes me back a few years. So we've moved down to here, which is not a very good place to preach. And Scotty's speaking down, it just doesn't have the traffic coming past it, but it sure is better than nothing. Over here are some guys playing bongos, which makes it even harder to speak. I've asked them to stop, but they won't. They want to play nice and loud, but anyway, I befriended them, and they seem to have quietened a little bit, so let's see what happens a little later. So Steve, you brought a team today?
We brought a team of 12 people
Oh, that's great. Yeah, thanks
from
for
Hope
coming.
Chapel, Hermosa Beach.
And here's Scotty, still preaching. Flags are flying. We really could do with a good angry heckler down here. It just needs something to pull in the crowd. But what's wrong with the guys? They have stopped their drums. Yeah, sure makes it easier.
Seems like the minute the gospel was started, those guys started banging their drums. Well, we'll trust the Lord will overcome. We got a crowd already.
Capital of India! Anybody know the capital of India, please, sir? Who said Calcutta? Hey, got it wrong!
Ray's just asking trivia questions right now to help draw a crowd.
Does nobody know? Ragoon!
It's not Ragoon. Rangoon?
Yeah.
No, it's not us.
We'll check in a minute.
So I'm now up on the pier here. Nice day, a lot of people around. I'm looking down on where Scotty's preaching, and he's got a good little crowd there. See if we can get a little closer. It seems like a lot of people shown up on bikes. I mean, this has happened before. But that's really cool. And there's people listening up here. And you can hear what's going down from up here. So I wonder if Scotty should turn around and speak to them. Anyway, he's giving Tyler a handshake, so let's see what happens. So Steve Sanchez has taken over, and he's preaching the other way. Let's run down, get this a little closer. Good old Steve. That's very cool. So this is really great. So Steve's still going. And the guys are off on the bikes. That was great. In the meantime, Scotty's yapping with these chaps over here.
Now, friends, if you know anything about mind-Ray's relationship, you know that I predict absolutely everything that he does in life on a minute-to-minute basis to a T. And he just predicted something that I was going to do, and I did it.
I wrote it down.
Right,
Yeah.
the bongo guy. As soon as
Yeah.
I saw the bongo guy, I said, "Man, Ray, remember in Santa Monica, the guy hum, used to hit the drums? Boy, that
There's
guy
a
was a
guy that
nightmare."
was for weeks just drowning out anything we were doing was playing these bongos.
Those guys actually had rhythm.
Did you see the guys on the bikes with Steve
That
Sanchez?
was awesome.
Yeah, well, it taught me that crowds come in cycles, and that's what happens. They just all arrived. It was great.
And they adjusted and preached to them. Anyway, that was great. Mark, quickly give us the debrief from your weekend and the tool of the day.
Let me just jump to the tool of the day here. We have the Why Christianity Booklet. This, I believe, is the most thorough gospel tract booklet that we sell. There it is right there on your screen, solving life's most important question. And it compares the four major religions, Hinduism, Buddhism, Islam, and Christianity. You want to get it at livingwaters.com.
Wonderful. Well,
I
friends.
thought he was going to say something great about this. Is the most amazing tract we've got at the ministry.
That was it. Yeah. The predictable Mark Spence. Not today.
I knew you were gonna
Friends,
say that.
thanks for joining us again today. Come back tomorrow. Who knows what'll happen. God bless.
For questions about On the Box with Ray Comfort or to submit questions for future shows, please email onthebox@livingwaters.com. That's onthebox@livingwaters.com. On the Box with Ray Comfort is an outreach of Living Waters. For more resources to inspire and equip you to fulfill the Great Commission, check out livingwaters.com or call toll-free 1-800-437-1893. Now go and preach the gospel.